Interrelationships of structure and mineralogy. Structure. Most magmatic ore deposits occur in structural breaks. Without such structural breaks, it is not possible for any mineralizing solutions to deposit their valuable mineral contents. Such structural breaks are usually associated with practically all varieties of intrusive bodies, beginning with large batholiths to small circular stalks. Such breaks that control the ore deposition can be considered to fall under two extreme classes: shear breaks, tensional breaks, or fractures, or brecciation breaks. In between these shear breaks and structural breaks, all possible combination. When rock fails under high pressure under the crustal layers, it has no chance to expand rapidly, and deformation very nearly approaches flow. Under such conditions, shear breaks, or shears, are produced. Pressures necessary for such shear failure varies widely under different geologic environments depending on types of rocks, pressure, and temperature environments, and solutions present within their pore space. Rocks like shale and limestone are considered weak. Hence, shear breaks can occur in such rocks under shallow conditions. However, usually shear zones and shear breaks are considered to be evidence of failure under heavy load at great depth. Within stratigraphic sequence, composed of rocks of differing competencies, it is often observed that which shear fractures dominate in the horizon, other lithological horizons may exhibit tensile fractures. Tension fractures and brecciation breaks. Such fractures within rocks result from failure under conditions favorable for the rock to expand. The presence of such characters indicate low pressure conditions and relatively shallow depth of formation. Such fracture include simple fissures, breccia zones, breccia pipes, and breccia stalks. One would expect of intermediate types of fracture between two major types mentioned, and overlaps of the two extreme varieties always occur because the rocks are mostly layered, and the different layers differ in their competence under similar deforming conditions. Shear breaks occur at depth. Hence, before they are observed by the geologists at the surface of the Earth's crust, the areas must have undergone deep and extensive erosion. Thus, such fractures are characteristics of rocks that are exposed in ancient crystalline platform areas. Breccia breaks occur nearer to the Earth's surface. They are characteristically occurring in areas which have experienced crust uplift, and have undergone relatively much less erosion. Shear breaks are usually very tight fractures without hardly any space in between the two sides of the cracks. Hence, the mineralization that occurs within such shear fractures is usually by replacement of larger masses of rock. Large masses of rock sometimes are completely replaced by ore and accompanying gangue minerals. In breccia zones, the fractures are of the open type. Hence, such open places are usually partly filled by the mineralized solution, and partly the last rocks are also replaced at times. Thus, filling and replacement are characteristics of breccia type of deposits. Besides the varieties mentioned above, deposition in a variety of open spaces within rocks can also take place. Almost all types of openings can become a deposition. Types of open space are pores in sediments, and volcanic rocks, usually pyroclastics. Various types of vesicles occur: the volcanic lava flows, plant cells in organic deposits, mineralotic cavities within minerals, and between minerals, solution cavities as in the limestone formations, fissures of various types, fault places in regions of fractures within the fault zones, joint planes, fractures associated with bedding planes, tension fractures, ladder vein fractures in folded rocks, and irregular minor fractures. Ore-body relationship to intrusive bodies. The geologist always tries to establish a genetic relation between the ore body and a suspected intrusive body. Such relationships can be regarded as value or highly probable. If the ore body is exposed, usually related intrusive body is deep below, and is invariably not amenable to direct examination. The other extreme is also possible, which is, very often the intrusive body is exposed, and the associated ore bodies have also been eroded away, and no more present. Such conditions occur in crystalline platform areas. Shear zone deposits are usually expected in and around intrusive bodies, which are at depth and not exposed for examination. Breccia deposits are usually closely grouped around intrusive bodies. Vertical extent of ore deposits. Deposits of the breccia type are usually formed at relatively high temperature, and as the intrusive body has come up out of the emanating gases, and other fluids escape at a fast rate to the outside atmosphere. The ore body has a short vertical range within which it is usually found productive. Deposits of the shear 1 type, which are usually formed at greater depths, have a relatively long vertical range in which that are productive. Usually such veins and ore sheets may not be long, but a group or series of ore shoots usually occur, and they usually extend over a long vertical range as well as over a long horizontal range. Such deposits are usually associated with large batholiths. Intrusive bodies and character of associated fissures. Fissures in and around the summits of intrusive bodies that come close to the surface of the earth are of the fracture and breccia type and are usually numerous in number. Such fractures permit rapid escape of ore fluids. In deep-seated bodies the fissures are of the shear type, their number relatively few and thus the loss of heat is slow, and the fissures do not permit rapid escape of ore fluids and emanations. The intrusives which come close to the surface of the earth, that is the shallow bodies, contain many non-replaced rocks, the zoning is distinct, the ore body lies close to the intrusive body, and its vertical range is short. In contrast to the shallow intrusive bodies, the deep-seated ones are usually represented by massive vein minerals of the replacement type, where zoning is less distinct. The ore body does not lie close to the intrusive and its relationship, the present intrusive is usually uncertain. Such ore bodies have a long vertical range. Physical factors in the localization of ore bodies. The ore-short localization is the result of two distinct factors, physicochemical factors and structural features. The physicochemical factors include mineralizing solutions, their source, their concentration, prevailing temperature and pressure, and the rate of flow of the mineralizing vapors. The structural features are the channel ways through which the mineralizing solutions escape, such as a permeable fault or a stratigraphic horizons or a zone. The physicochemical environments controlled by the pressure-temperature conditions tell about the precipitation gradient. Geologic guides to ore exploration. The first and foremost work of an exploration geologist is to formulate some guides to ores, that is structural, stratigraphical, or any other physical and features or physiochemical conditions that can give us a clue to the location of a suspected ore body. All practical guides should be represented on maps or diagrams. A pictorial representation enables us to have a clear visualization and appreciation of the situation. Thus, maps, sections, three-dimensional models are essential. It is essential to gather facts and analyze them in terms of stratigraphy and geologic structure and build a workable theory to fit observations. Such a theory should be rational and tell consistent story. Thus a genetic theory will lead us to a scientific method of search and also help us to evolve new techniques. Such guides have been classified under various types, of which the following are some of the more important ones, like ring target, intersecting loci, regional guides, geochemical guides, geobotanical and biochemical guides, and geologic guides. Ring targets can constitute a halo of altered rocks or mineral groups is found around intrusive zones, ratios of metals, regional zoning. Intersecting loci will include a combination of more than one of stratigraphic horizon, rock type, structural setup, which includes directions of fractures, orientation and faults. Regional guides are usually broad and general in nature and can be classified under three major varieties: igneous rocks, age relations, major structural zones. Igneous rocks. Intrusive batholiths have been found to be associated with mineral deposits on their periphery, such as apatite and magnetite veins in granites of Eastern Ghats. Tin ore deposits is found around granite bodies. Volcanic rocks of specific types are often associated with ore bodies too. Igneous rocks of certain petrologic types are characteristically associated with ore bodies. Acid intrusive are associated with tin and molybdenum ores, basic intrusives are associated with nickel, and ultrabasic intrusive are associated with chromium, nickel, and platinum. Geochemical and GEOBOTANICAL guides. The proximity of an ore body is often indicated by certain specific icons in rocks as well as in groundwater, plants or parts of plant bodies. Samples of these materials are usually obtained by chemists on a grid pattern, and maps are prepared. Such maps, when interpreted, should take into consideration transport of soils, leaching of natural materials, and wind-blown particles coming over a particular direction. Geologic guides to ore bodies. Geologic guides to ore bodies can be classified in various ways. If, for example, we consider the time factor, such features can be put under the following categories. Features or characteristics that were in existence before the ore body was formed. Such features include fractures and structural features, and stratigraphic or geologic horizons like rocks horizons, which can be subjected to replacement. Features that came into existence along with the formation of the ore. Such characteristics include alteration halos and fracture patterns accompanying intrusive bodies. Features resulting from the presence of the ore body or mineralization. These have been formed after the ore body came into existence, and can include Gaussian and subsistence features, physiographic features and ancient workings. All these features can be kept in mind while looking for an ore body, but are not classified as such when geologic maps are prepared. Hence, for practical purposes, we would classify geologic guides in a slightly different way, which are easily representable in maps, and can be followed up by the trained geologist to look for favorable loci formation. Such guides include physiography, mineralogical alteration, mine realization and oxidation products, stratigraphic and lithological units, and structural fracture patterns, lithological contacts, fold hinges. Physiographic guides. Most important physiographic guides are topographic elevations or depressions. The common examples are bauxite deposits on plateaus, iron ore deposits forming hills, and placer deposits in old river channels. For placer deposits, Leo current studies are the most useful. Ilmenite, placer gold, diamond and tin are the best examples. Mineralogical. These include alteration products of rocks and mineral products found on outcrops at shallow depths and a larger variety of gangue minerals. stratigraphic and lithological guides. These are usually classified under two separate heads: syngenetic, which forms an important original part of the rock; epigenetic, which has been introduced into the rock. Syngenetic ore deposits include bedded ores which are regular and can be traced along stratigraphic horizons. Syngenetic ores that are associated with igneous intrusives are irregular in shape and size. Their formation and extent is usually related to the shape and size of the intrusive body, and their orientation depends on the direction of the intrusive forces. Epigenetic ore bodies show strong preference to certain stratigraphic or lithologic horizons which can be easily replaceable. Stratigraphic horizons which are competent and can undergo fracturing during tectonic disturbance also form good host rocks for epigenetic ores. The fracture patterns form useful loci for the deposition of minerals. Fold hinges often also form useful loci for the deposits of mineral solutions. For example, pegmatite bodies have been usually located along the anticlinal or synclinal hinges in schistose formations. Fracture patterns. Practically no ore body is devoid of paleofracture patterns. Also, no ore body can form in incompetent rocks without the existence of a suitable fracture pattern through which mineral icing solutions can flow. Hence, studying fracture patterns in rocks is most useful in prospecting for any ore deposit. Orientation of the fracture patterns in a region gives a clue to the directions of the principal stresses that have acted on the rocks, and thus gives an idea about the direction in which the ore fluids might have migrated. The study of the spatial orientation of the fractures is essential in deciding and planning the direction in which all geophysical exploration should be undertaken.